Oh God. Oh, the bit rate is lower than the recommended bit rate. That seems like it could be a problem. Looks fine now. I don't know what's going on. Can you guys like hear me okay and like see me okay? Thank you guys for waiting. Connect stream. What is going on here? Okay, people say they can see me, but why open widget? It's telling me the bitrate is not good. Now it says it's good. Okay, YouTube. What are we doing? Also, I have my fan going, so hopefully you guys like can't hear that. And it's been a minute though. Hello everyone. Welcome. Okay, I'm gonna pop out the chat here. So, if you haven't been here before, hello. Don't mind my nails. I like the color. They're very good. Does not go with my outfit though, because I don't own every nail polish color under the sun. Because I just got back into painting my nails again after. When was the last time I painted my nails? Like probably before COVID. It's been a while. Kind of gave my nails a long break from that, and they're doing better. So we're repainting them again. And I don't remember what I was gonna say. Oh yes, this is an interactive Q&A. So if you guys want to, you can ask me questions. We will answer them. We hang out. They can be BDSM related, anime related, poly related, relationship related, whatever you want. I will often just ramble incoherently with my answers, and it's mostly entertaining. Sometimes it's cringe, but mostly good. And I know um I don't know if Dusty Plum would be a good color for nails. I mean, I think they would. I feel like it's very modern. And I know I get requests a lot for people that are interested in like doing makeup stuff, and I currently have a little bit of a breakout on my face because that happens. That's life. I dermaplaned my face, and sometimes after we dermaplane, follicles get a little irritated. So we're gonna do a little bit of makeup, just very quick, light, casual, no makeup kind of a deal, just to do something different that's not 27 steps of black eyeliner and a wing and false eyelashes and everything. But yeah. Okay, weird. I feel like I'm getting different chat messages from Restream and from YouTube. Let me investigate that. I look so young. Thank you. It's because I use a retinol. It's because I use a retinol. Uh, Also, probably the acne helps with looking younger, but thank you. Random question. Are you vegan? I've heard you mention vegan candy in one of your videos before. I am. I have been vegan for 2 years, I think at this point. Yeah, I've been vegan for 2 years. And yeah, I don't mean, it's obviously, I'm not like a vegan YouTuber. I'm not like life hacks for vegan lifestyle, like sort of a person, but it is part of what I do. Okay, so it has been a minute. Yeah, it is. I know it's kind of like a weird time for a lot of people, but thank you. Do you cosplay? I do not cosplay. No, I kind of thought about it when I was younger, and then I was quickly dispelled of the notion when I figured out how much time and skill it takes to do cosplay and also how expensive it is. And I like watching other people cosplay, but it's not really my thing. Okay, so makeup stuff today. Here's what we've got going on. Cold brew orange tea for vitamin C. It's good stuff. I have a few options here for things. This used to be my like travel aftercare bag, and it still kind of is. But I also just use it for makeup too now, so it's got makeup in it because I was away for a little bit and now we're back and it's fun and we're having a fun time doing some makeup. So, gonna get some stuff out here. Don't want to do any like eyeshadow or anything. I just kind of want to do my face and then maybe put on some mascara and be like, that's all she needs, you know? I do have a lot of like the dark crevices of this bag are vast. There we go. This is what I was looking for. I think it would be easy to find because it's a heavy brush, but no. Sometimes God laughs at our plans. Okay. Here is what we're gonna do. I don't really need my keyboard, so just get rid of that, I guess. I recently had to stop having any dairy. It makes me very sick. Just happened very recently. I looked into making vegan desserts. So far, it's going well. Yeah, vegan desserts, I feel like they're either really simple or really hard. Like, definitely vegan brownies, vegan cookies. My recent favorite thing I've been making for a vegan dessert is coconut, like, rice pudding. I've never been a fan of rice pudding, like traditional American rice pudding. But when you make vegan rice pudding with coconut milk, it's basically like non-sticky, sticky coconut rice with sticky mango, like you would have at a Thai restaurant. Really good. Basically impossible to do it wrong unless you, I guess, boil it for too long, maybe. That would be the only way to do it wrong. Mm. Yes, hello, everyone. I have just recently turned 18 and I'm curious about the whole DS dynamic I have. Decent idea of what I like, and my question to you is, should I go to a local dungeon or do BDSM dating? You mean like on an app? I know there's a couple of apps that people have recommended to me to like try out or get my opinion on. Like I think there's Kink D and I've downloaded Field. It's FEELD and that I've not used yet. The Google reviews for it on the Google Play Store are not good. And it's got like 2.6 stars, I think. And a lot of people are like, oh, there's like fake accounts on here. Or, you know, there's no mobile version or there's no web version. So unless you're on your phone all the time, it's really hard to use. So I can't really like speak to any of those. I just dot this all over my whole face. It looks great. It's very flattering. This is the urban. Why do makeup companies name things like kinky but on accident? So this is the Stay Naked Hydromaniac as opposed to Nymphomaniac. Glow Hydrator. The one thing I would say about this I'm not a fan of is I do find it creases in my little crinkles in my outer eye. But I'm trying to find a solution for that. And when I can find a solution for that, like it looks really good. So, oh, I didn't put in a primer. Forgot to do that step. I will use a blending brush and I'll like pat some setting spray in there. I'm gonna move my microphone so I don't stab it 1,000 times. But I don't say it's an either or thing if you want to do like dating or going to a local dungeon. It depends on what side of the slash you're on. If you're like a male submissive, I really do not recommend you as a new person to use like kink dating apps of any kind because they're like basically the spam bot population on kink, like even on OkCupid, like if you like say like I'm a male submissive or whatever, like pretty much all of the look how good that looks. Like you can already can you tell there's makeup on this side? No. Um but all of the spam bots and spammers and you know people that are out there to steal your money and trick you, pretty much all that's geared towards male submissives because unfortunately, um, the way that a lot of pornography that's oriented for male submissives works kind of gives people this false impression of like, oh, a pro dom is gonna like steal all your money, and like there's no sense of boundary between like lifestyle DS and dating and like professional services and pornography. And so oftentimes like people will try to take advantage of newer people that don't understand how all of those things are different. And then like, no, if you are talking to somebody you were interested in doing a DS relationship with, you do not have to send them thousands of dollars of Target gift cards. That's like not a normal thing. So until you kind of get your feet under you a little bit and you kind of get a better understanding of what you want from the community, kind of getting a better sense of red flags, you know, how real people talk when they talk about BDSM, I'd recommend staying away from the dating apps. Not that they aren't useful. I have run across, I use OkCupid personally, and I have run into people that are kinky on OkCupid. They just, okay, OkCupid, this is crazy. They just updated their identity section. So you get to pick like, you know, your gender identity, your sexual orientation. They just added a new section where you can put in your like identity modifier. So there's like um top, bottom, butch, hard femme, soft femme, high femme, otter, whatever. You know, any of those other words. You know what an option is in there? Leather. So I know what I updated my OKC profile to say. So you can't find, you know, even though it's a vanilla app, you can't find kinky people on there. But my history on there has mostly been me finding people that are kink-ish. Either it's people I already know from the local community that I'm friends with, or it's people that are kink adjacent but are like kind of more bedroom only, looking for someone to have rough sex with kind of a deal. And that's been disappointing because it's like, oh, your profile says you're a dom, but then when I talk to you on a date, it's like you are really just a swinger with extra steps. Okay, that's not really my bag, but I'm happy for you. The problem is though, even if the apps aren't perfect, using, let's say, like FetLife to try and find people is also like super fraught, because FetLife is not designed to be a dating app. You can like use personal ads on there. You can do stuff like that depending on where you live. There will be a group set up for it, like for local people that want to meet up, but it's always like such a nightmare. It really doesn't work out that well. So I think if you're trying to meet people, your best bet is going to be with going in person to events, going to munches, kind of, you know, getting to know people, doing all that stuff. And then you know, honestly, I think most of the people I know that have like BDSM relationships, they either, if they have them in real life, like this is different if you're doing long distance stuff, that have like successful DS relationships, either it's somebody they met directly at a party, like in person, or it's like a friend of somebody that they know from real life that they kind of did a little matchmaking thing with. I don't think that's the only way, but that's like the most common way. Anyways, I usually I let, if I need to use concealer, I'll let it like sit for a while and then I'll like blend it out more. And my concealer is my fucking ancient, definitely needs to be replaced Tarte Shape Tape, which I didn't like for a long time. And then I figured out the secret to it is you put it on where you need to, and then you blend it out once it's like had time to sit down. Oh, thank you so much, Rachel Jolie. I appreciate that. So yeah, I definitely think meeting in person is going to be your best bet because automatically when you're meeting people in person and going to events, you're going to pick up on their vibe right away. If you're compatible, you're going to be able to pick up on, you know, red flags. You're going to, if they're in the local community, that means they probably haven't been banned, which is a good sign. And you're, you know, you can't really be catfished in real life. Like, it's not going to be like, I don't know, three raccoons in a trench coat, like showing up to a munch. It's usually not what happens, unless I guess you had a trio of submissives that all were pet players that were all raccoons that wore matching trench coats to a munch. I don't know. There would be a way to do that somehow, but obviously know what I'm talking about. Okay, we're letting that set down. What do we think? I'm a male heterosexual sub. Okay. I don't know how I guessed that. But I am glad that I gave advice kind of in that general direction. There, depending on where you live, you can also look for events that are for female doms because usually those are also inclusive to male subs. If you're into more of the surface side of things, if maybe you would want to go serve at a tea party or just be around other people that are more oriented that way, because if you are going, if you're in the US and you're going to more general munches and play events, those do tend to be more towards male dom, female submissive. not always, obviously. There's a lot of people that are switches, a lot of people that are male subs. But if you're a new person going into that scene, especially if you're taller, if you're really muscular, if people will visually identify and stereotype you as being more dominant because of your physical appearance, it can be hard for people to like kind of initially be like, oh yeah, you're a sub, sure. And I mean, people aren't. I'm kind of thinking worst case scenario where you have like a really judgmental local community where people are just like all men are dominant and all women are submissive unless they're over 5'11", and just all that crap, which thankfully is not that common, but it does happen some places. It does happen some places. Yeah. In person is almost open. No, I smudged it. Oh, my skin is just very dry right now. My skin has been really good for like the last like month or so. Like I've had this is like the first breakout I've had in a long time. But I am on the Nuva ring and I feel like my body is in this place where it's about to make me have a period because I know this is like kind of TMI, but I do talk about BDSM, so you're gonna get the full details. I'm on the Nuva ring, which is a form of birth control, and I pretty much skip all of my periods. But every once in a while, my body's like, "Hey, you haven't had a period in 6 months. It's like time to have one of those." So, really, that might be happening. Personal ads can also be very sketchy. Yeah. Um, I have a very unique local experience of personal ads where in our local group for personal ads, it is completely kosher and in fact encouraged to just roast the shit out of anybody that has like a bad personal ad. Like the people that write personal ads and they're like uncut 6'2" male dom looking for harem of submissives to worship my cock. Like those ads where it's like, please stop writing your personal fantasy in FetLife. That's not what this is for, please. Like those people, they get roasted. They usually delete their accounts. They usually delete their messages, all of their posts, like everything. They just get ran off of the forum, which is good. But most places are not like that. And even with that happening, most of the ads are people that are pretty much just looking for orgies, gangbangs, and hookups, which is not usually what us BDSM lifestyle people are really into. But if it works, I guess. Hmm. Have you ever done a video on dacrophilia? I have. I have. I think I just called it crying fetish because that's a little bit easier to recognize than dacrophilia, but I have done a video on that. Do you use vegan makeup? When I buy makeup now, I usually get like vegan like indie makeup, but I haven't thrown away the makeup I have that isn't necessarily cruelty free because I don't like wasting things and that throwing it away seems more disrespectful than like using it up, I guess, and then not repurchasing it. Oh, each their own. Sorry, missed your body worship video last night. What about smothering? It's one of my major kinks. Um, Smothering is hard because that gets into like breath control, like breath play territory, obviously. And I don't really feel comfortable talking about stuff like that on YouTube as a platform because one, could definitely see YouTube giving me a guideline strike over talking about that. Two, it's something that is very difficult to teach somebody how to do in a complete way over the internet, and I generally stay away from things that are entirely like instructional, like how to do the thing in terms of a technique. So it's not really me because I feel like you really need to learn that like in person or at least over like a video call that's like two ways where you can get that direct feedback. But yeah, that is a the problem is with like I'm gonna just say this really quick. The problem with making videos about fetishes is what ends up happening is everyone that has ever had a fetish comments on my video and then wants their fetish to be talked about in detail. But in particular, what ends up happening is you have people, let me just say it's men. It's always been a male commenter. I've never had a female fetishist comment this. Not that the gender really means anything, but just for the sake of, I guess, telling a complete story. Men on the internet comment on my post about like the one I did on like tickling stuff, which by the way wasn't really about tickling as like a fetish. That was more of a side note. It was about tickling as a BDSM activity, and literally all of the comments I've gotten on that video for the last 2 days have people like, Evie, are you into tickling? Evie, do you like tickling? Evie, will you tickle me? Evie, what's your favorite tickling scene you've ever done? Evie, do you ever orgasm when you get tickled? Evie, you ever masturbated while being tickled? It's like, um, I don't I never mentioned my personal interest in tickling in that video at all. I'm actually not ticklish, and the volume of comments I get from people that like literally, how much would I have to pay you to get you to tickle me? How much would it cost for you to fly out so I can tickle you? I would love to take you out for dinner and then tickle you. Like, just the overwhelming, and I never have that happen on my other BDSM videos. It's super weird. Like the ones I've done on bondage, on crying, on praise kink, like any of those things, no one's ever like, I want you to do this fetish with me and or to me and or I want to do it to you, and asking really invasive personal questions about like, when was the first time you had a tickle fantasy? It's like, I don't know who you're talking to because I never said anything about me being into tickling. But there is this, I don't know what happens. It's like something about being on the internet, like, because I never have that happen on my other videos, but for some reason, when I talk about fetish subjects, like people, like there's a segment of like 2% of people that watch it just lose their minds. That like all sense of decorum is out the window. Like, I'm gonna ask you how much it costs to fly you to Chicago so that way I will be your tickle slave. Like, what? Like, what is happening? So I try to stay away from like fetish content because I don't want to attract people that think that I'm a sex worker when I'm not. Not that being a sex worker is bad, it's just not what I do. And just don't have any sense of personal boundaries. So I talked about that one because it's like very directly BDSM related, and it is actually an activity that's done just for BDSM, not as a fetish thing. But otherwise, I generally don't talk about fetish stuff because it doesn't really go well in terms of people not being creepy and invasive and sending me creepy emails about all the things they want to do with my body when they tickle me. It's like, because I try really hard to like, if I have a story where like I've seen somebody do tickling, or I, went to a class one time, like, I'll talk about that, but I never talk about like, here's a scene that I've done and here's how I got off doing this fetish. Like, that's not me. And people just, they're just people. Okay? They're just people being people. They don't know how to act appropriately on the internet. No one ever taught them that. This is Rituel de Fille. What is this? Their Inner Glow Cream Pigment, which the thing on it is broken and I've hit pan on it. So I will probably be repurchasing it, but their packaging is a little bit flimsy when you use it all the time, I would say, as a note. And I don't even use this every day. I do makeup like this like maybe once or twice a week. It's not really that common, but I wore this shit out of this compact. Anyways, not to blame people that have fetishes, because, like, trust me, I get it, but, like, I don't know what happens to people's brains. Oh, no. I accidentally clawed some of my, yeah, I've got, contour under my nails now. So I'm gonna go get a napkin real quick so I can do something else with my hands besides have them be covered in contour. So give me a second. Okay, we're back. I also remembered I have like a purple. I need them to make a purple cream blush. That is all I want in my life, is a cool tone and a warm tone purple blush, because I wear purple a lot and I like it when my blush matches everything else. And that's what I want. Okay, anyway, sorry, not to like, I hope I'm not coming across as like ragging on fetishes, but like that's just my honest to God experience with why I don't make videos about fetishes. Also, the other reason I don't make videos about fetishes is because what it really comes down to, like, if it's not a BDSM activity where you can explain how to do it in a BDSM scene, it's like a 5 minute long video being like, this is what this fetish means, this is what people get out of it, and then you're done. Like, it's usually a really quick video if it's just explaining what the fetish is, so I don't tend to get into that very much. You look amazing without your makeup on? Well, if you just tuned in, you're in for a surprise because I'm wearing makeup. I'm like wearing 10% of makeup right now. Okay. Hmm. Okay, so question here from Taylor. When a Dom sets rules, should they also provide some parameters around what punishments might look like? I'm in a new DDLG arrangement, and it gives me anxiety to be in the dark about how I might be punished. What types of possible punishments haven't really been narrowed down to, especially because I'm a brat. Okay, this is the thing that I see people fuck up on like the most when it comes to, might be too warm, but whatever, we're going with it. We're blending it in, okay? Um, this is the thing I see people mess up the most when it comes to formulating some kind of kink relationship, is they think about the rules, they think about the protocol, they think about limits. They like, it's like all of that stuff like goes out the window when people are trying to come up with punishments. Like, punishments need to be negotiated. Punishments need to be done on the basis of informed consent. Because I think the way a lot of people try to do them is they're like, oh yeah, I have permission to punish you. But then they don't think about it in the sense that it's like a scene. And so they don't negotiate for stuff. They don't let the submissive know what the punishment's going to be or what sort of things will cause what punishments. And you have to do that. Like, frankly, like some submissives are fine not knowing. But essentially, what you're doing when you don't allow your submissive to have informed consent, know what the punishments are going to be, have their limits taken into account for punishments in particular. Like, you're basically either one, mind fucking them because you're not giving them full information, or you're basically doing a consensual non consent relationship without realizing you're doing a consensual non consent relationship. So I am very pro treating punishments like you would any other scene, because functionally it is a particular type of scene you do for the benefit of maintaining your DS structure. And so you need to make sure that you have a conversation with your Dom and you're like, hey, as a reminder, these are my limits. And you can have it, you can have it set up any of like a number of different ways, right? Like, you can have it be where anything is game for punishment except for your hard limits, and like you're kind of open to whatever works in the moment. You sound like somebody that wants kind of more structure and wants to know what's going to happen. So what I recommend doing in that scenario, like starting, people try to do too much at once. They try to go too far in and try to go like too hardcore, basically too fast before the relationship can really sustain that. And so, what I recommend that people do is you start out from a place where everything is really controlled and really structured, right? Like, you literally have a set list of like, these are what kind of punishments could happen that we've like determined is okay. Because this is the thing, people don't realize this, and they should, especially when it comes to punishments. Sorry, I'm gonna close my mouth. When it comes to punishments, a lot of the traditional punishments are very reminiscent of the kinds of things that could have happened to us. Oh, thank you, Proxy Gal. How can you put punishments in routine? Um, do you mean like doing them on a regular basis, or what do you mean by routine exactly? So, I think what I was trying to say was that when it comes to punishments, you can literally have it be set up to where you're like, we are okay with spanking over the knee. We are okay with corner time. We are okay with getting spanked with a belt. Like, you can be as comprehensive as you want to be. And I recommend that because when we are doing punishments in BDSM, sort of the things that are like corner time, writing lines, that can all bring up, frankly speaking, traumatic memories from childhood, either from our parents or school or teachers, and you don't want to be accidentally playing around in that and not realizing what you're doing. So I would set up either a list of like, these are the kinds of punishments that I'm okay with, and not like you giving it to your Dom, but like working together with your Dom on it so they know that context. And then they get to kind of pick in the moment like what works with the infraction. Or you literally have a table that's like, a level 1 infraction results in this type of punishment. A level 2 infraction results in this type of punishment. So that, there can be all kinds of gradation in terms of like how much freedom, your partner would have to make decisions in the moment. But I really recommend starting from where you know what is going to happen, because some submissives are really enjoy and are really motivated by having that mystery, not knowing what's going to happen, that dread, that anticipation. Other people, that is completely a no-go. And if you're on that complete no-go side, you shouldn't have to do something that you're not comfortable with, because ultimately, I say not comfortable with, I mean in terms of like it could be triggering, it's going to be a violation of your limits. It's going, basically, you don't want to do things that are going to erode your trust for your dominant partner, because, in my opinion, there are two things in particular that erode a DS relationship the quickest out of anything. Quicker than fucking up in a scene, quicker than not being necessarily super compatible in all your fetishes. It would be when you do not have clear understandings about, well, I guess the first one would really be when a partner doesn't follow through on their commitments. That could be either way. That could be a dom that either forgets to follow up on rewards, follow up on punishments, help maintain the structure on their side, or it could be a submissive that is always forgetting to. Ah, that was my dog barking. It was not. Or a submissive that just doesn't keep up their end of things in terms of, uh, you know, doing the things they're supposed to do for service, uh, whatever else. And the other thing is when you create a scenario that is not intentionally based in fear. It is one thing to have a relationship where you're really into mind fucks and fear play and all that stuff. When that's not your thing as a submissive and your relationship is based on being afraid of your dom, like legitimately scared of what they will do to you because you do not know what to expect and you do not know when or if they will enforce punishments, like you're like eventually it's going to leak into other aspects of the relationship outside of punishment. That's going to get into the rest of your DS structure. It's going to leak over into your scenes. It's going to make it hard to do aftercare with them because you're kind of still like residually afraid of them. Like, it's really not good. Just don't put yourself in a scenario where that's going to be a big thing. And I say this because I've had, that was something that people didn't teach me when I was getting into doing DS. Like, people just like didn't talk about negotiating for punishments. People didn't like, people were just like, oh yeah, you do punishments. These are punishments that people do, right? Here's the corner time, no cell phone, no internet, 20 lashings. Like, that's what people do, right? You do punishments like this, and this. And that's what we all do. Yes, I'm putting on my highlighter after I put on my setting spray because I forgot I had this in my bag. Don't judge me. I'm trying to answer questions here and do makeup at the same time, okay? And it's amazing to me like how silent people are about this, because it's like when you actually get into DS and you're trying to figure out how it works, you're like, "Oh my god, why isn't this working for me? Why do I feel this way?" And then you realize it's because like there's this whole aspect of negotiating for DS structure that people just like don't talk about, which is why I have so many videos talking about punishments and talking about stuff like that, because people find punishment for some reason super hot and they rush into doing it and they're super into it and they don't realize like how destructive it can be and they don't give it the respect it deserves and they just don't realize that it's more than just like doing punishment. There's way more layers to it than just being like, I need to enforce this structure. Anyways, that's my opinion though. That's my opinion. Um, yeah, but there's flexibility there. I'm not trying to say that like you need to do this one way, or if you don't do it this way, you're not safe. I am talking about from like a beginner DS perspective, first DS relationship, new DS with a new partner, and you're really trying to figure out what feels good to you and where you feel safe. Like, start from that place of everything being more structured and knowing what's going to happen and what's going to cause XYZ to happen and calibrating from there. And the more you have experience, the more you trust your partner, the more you know yourself, then you can get out into things being more open, things maybe having a little bit more of that like intentional fear play behind it, a little bit more of that intentional mindfuckery, you can do that, but you have to work up there. Because if you start there and it doesn't work for you, like that could ruin your experience of doing DS and make you think that like you're just not submissive. And that may not be the case. You may just be somebody that needs more structure and doesn't like surprises, and that's totally fine. Okay, what are we doing with. I just forgot to do this, so we're gonna do this now. Okay, next question. What do you think of a guy with a foot fetish? I have a foot fetish and also like tickling female feet. Listen, foot fetishes are like the most common fetish. Like they're really, it's not really that big of a deal. As long as you aren't creepy about it, like texting random women or messaging random women on Instagram or TikTok or whatever to be like, hey baby, can you send me pictures of your feet? Winky emoji. Don't do that shit, please. That's just embarrassing for all of us. But as long as you're like a normal human about it that does their foot fetish in a consensual manner with other consenting adults, like great. I've dated like 4 guys that have foot fetishes. And because I'm asexual, I do not give a singular shit. I don't care. I am like, sure, whatever. To me, that's about as doing stuff with feet. It's about as weird as doing stuff with genitals. So whatever. It's all the same to me. Okay. Um, I think I want to do dungeon things and have a relationship from there in the dungeon, and sometimes go out and hang out, etc. But I want my main thing to be in a dungeon setting. Oh, do you mean like having a relationship where you're not like dating the person, but like you're just doing BDSM stuff? I mean, that's all possible, but it just depends on what you negotiate for. Da, da, da. I would also say, like, if you're a brat and you're trying to deal with like punishment stuff and like that seems kind of hard for you, I have a video that I've done if you haven't seen it where I have talked about non-physical punishments and like punishment alternatives. I talk about this a lot because I find that physical punishments don't work for a lot of people for a lot of reasons, and this goes back to the sort of having fear and resentment in your relationship and like trying to avoid that. Physical. Oh, thank you, DJ Glenn. Sorry, I was like DJ. Wait, that's probably not it. DJ Glenn. Thank you. Um, J and G are the same letter now. Okay, it's official. So, non physical punishments can be better for some people because either physical punishments don't work because you're a brat and you're a masochist and you want that stuff, so it's not actually reinforcing the structure you way you want to, or it's bringing up like traumatic memories. It feels uncomfortable. You're not a masochist. It's not motivating you. Like, there are a lot of things that make physical punishments maybe not great, but there are lots of alternatives, and I've talked about those at length in numerous other videos. Yeah, so there is already so Little Kitten, if anyone's thought of this, but I thought of something called manipulation play. The scene is centered on the top, manipulating the bottom, and a clever mindfuckery way could be fun. There is already thing. It is called mindfucking. It is a scene. It is a thing that people do. I'm gonna lie. I'm gonna tight line my water line. So give me a second here. Yeah, I don't know why I did my under eye, but I did. So we're going with it. I guess I'm gonna end up having to do something now that I've done that. I have committed myself to putting on more makeup. Oh dear. Alright. I want it to be very light. I just smudge this a little bit. I really don't like this eyeliner, but it's the only gel eyeliner I own, so I got it for $2 at Ulta. It's not very good, but it works enough, I guess. It works enough. Also, FYI, I do answer questions in the order they are received. I go in order through the chat, so if I have not answered your question yet and it's been 20 seconds, please do not spam the chat. Otherwise, it will not answer your question at all because that's not respectful, and we do not reward disrespectful behavior on this channel. Oh, thank you so much, Shayandra. Hopefully that's right. I'm gonna say Shayandra. Beautiful name. Oh, thank you so much. Okay, so I am a super beginner and I found a Dom who I get along with, but we haven't been physical yet. What are some little things I can do to wow him before and during our first time? Thank you. Okay, that's so exciting. Oh my gosh. So when you say being physical, do you mean like doing a BDSM scene? Do you mean getting like sexually intimate? Like, what are you wanting to do? Because I think the best thing that you can do if he's not an asshole, I will say is like being confident with yourself. I even like people get this idea that like being submissive means you have to be a doormat and be like a wallflower and not confident and hate yourself. Not what it means at all. I think if you are putting yourself in a scenario where you feel comfortable and confident, that's going to come out and that's going to be both the best scenario for you for being able to maintain your boundaries and for like impressing them and demonstrating that you're comfortable and like who you are. I think that's really important. So that could be, and also like I think staying in with what you're comfortable with. Like, don't do stuff just because you're like, oh, this is what DOMs want, right? Like, do what you're comfortable with. Don't push yourself too far. Okay, I'm gonna finish my eyeliner, and I will answer this question because I want to think about it for a second. But I also need to finish my eyes, so give me a second. I also keep moving my mirror around because I don't know what I'm doing. This desk is not designed to have makeup on it. What am I gonna do for my lips? I didn't think about that at all. I was thinking maybe just glossy, like just glossy lips. Something really, really simple. I just had this moment where I looked in my eyes and I was like, fuck, I love eyeliner. I love eyeliner so much. Nothing like a good cat eye. You know what I mean? Okay. Let me see if we have. If a Dom says no, do it my way, they're not a real Dom. Pretty much. Makeup streams with regular humans and not crazy influencer looks are fun. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love crazy influencer looks, but who has time for that? I'm not going anywhere special. I think I'm going to put on $30 worth of makeup on my face to sit in my house and edit videos. No, ma'am. No, sir. No way, Jose. I thought I was going to stop and answer a question, and I realized how crazy I would look if I had one eye with eyeliner on, so. The hardest part is making sure the wings are even on both sides. I definitely made this eye like way more like chunky somehow. It's also like really shadowy directly in front of where I'm at, so it's a little bit. It's not my usual makeup application environment over here. Let me make this side thicker. I promise I'm not forgetting questions. I just can't. Listen, there's a reason why when Bailey Sierra is doing her makeup for her murder mystery makeup Mondays, she cuts when she does eyeliner. Okay. I'm also not really a fan of this eyeliner pen either. This is really good ratings on Ulta too. It's the Holika Sharp pen liner, and I like pen liners. This one I'm not convinced about, TBH. And you just have to try really hard to make it like fully black. And I feel like I shouldn't have to do that, you know? Okay, let's answer questions before we do mascara. And I don't know what else I would do. I guess I could do lashes, but I need to do something with my lips also, I guess. Anyways, questions. So, back to Shayandra's question. Any tips or tricks for applying eyeliner? Practice. Lots of practice. What is the last name of the author you mentioned in your pinned comment? Um, where do I have a pinned comment? I'm not sure what that's a reference to. Okay, so tips for first time meeting a dom. Number one, if you want to do something, you gotta negotiate for it. So, um, see, it's hard because I don't know exactly what scenario is being walked into here, and I don't want to like give the wrong advice to the wrong thing. So, um, one, this is primarily a sexual relationship that has some BDSM elements added to it. That is what I'm going to assume is the most likely scenario, so we're gonna go with that one. Basically, what I always recommend is when you feel like you're gonna go in an intimate direction, and also I'm asexual, so I don't know exactly everyone does this the same way, but this is sort of what I do. Is when things feel like they're going in a sexual direction, if that's like the direction you want to go and you're comfortable with that, before you get into the moment, like talk about what you want to do. People hate doing this for some reason, and I don't know why. Talking about things, negotiating things can be hot, can be sexy, and when you do BDSM shit, I'm sorry, it is necessary. Like, if you are going to be going into a sexy scene that is going to involve physical intimacy that maybe has spanking, hair pulling, dirty talk, whatever. Like the best thing that I could think to do is like when you're kind of anticipating getting into that scenario and you're getting flirty, you're talking about what you want to do with this person when you get intimate. That is when you tell this person, "Oh my gosh, I would love it if you did something like this," or like, "This is what I'm thinking about doing." Like tell them what you want. You don't have to be demanding about it. You don't have to be bossy about it, but just putting it out there in a way that seems natural that like this is the kind of thing that you are looking for. For me personally, I'm very blunt. I don't have time to play fuck games. I don't have time to play around. I'm like, this is what I'm into. This is what I won't do. This is what I will do. This is what is absolutely never ever. Like I am very clear. I'm very upfront. I don't want to give anybody the wrong impression about what I am and am not comfortable with or things that I'm into or not into. Like, I want to be really direct. because frankly, I don't want to waste time on somebody that isn't going to be compatible with me in those ways. And so it's just better to know that up front and put it out there. And people that are into you are going to be okay with that. People that are not into you are going to be like, okay, I guess we aren't really going to work out together. But if you can establish what you're going to be doing ahead of time, sorry, I don't know why I'm losing my voice, but if you can establish, here, let me sit up. So if you can establish like what you're going to be doing ahead of time, that is going to be really helpful for you for, again, being confident, for being able to be direct, all of that stuff. Oh, the raven is not a her. The raven is Raven Caldera. FYI. Um, and yeah, again, like, it's not about like, this is, I think, the thing as well. Like, you mentioned, like, wanting to impress them and like wow them, right? I I wouldn't say it's not. I wouldn't say it's not an audition. Because in some ways it is, because you're figuring, are you going to be compatible as partners, right? So there's like, there are stakes to it. But I wouldn't think about it like you are trying to impress them. Think about it like they need to impress you. They need to impress you. This is not to say that you should be lazy or that you shouldn't try or you shouldn't be confident or whatever. I am saying that so that way you don't lose sight of the fact that they also have to be up to your standards and also be into the things that you want to be into and are not pushing you to do things that you don't want to do. So if you're somebody that's looking for like a DDOG relationship that's really like cuddly and fuzzy with maybe some like light spankings thrown in and is mostly sexual, if they're like a really hardcore sadist that is not really into sexual play, and when it is sexual it's always like very pain focused, like, you're not going to be compatible. And if you're trying really hard to fit with them as opposed to understanding that like sometimes you can both be kinky and not be into each other, like, just save yourself from the pain of that, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Not to say that's going to happen, I'm just saying keep that in mind as well. Like, it's not just about you impressing them, it's also about them impressing you and being able to do what you want to do, you know. But if you're doing something where it's not about being like physically intimate in terms of like sex, and the purpose of it isn't just about sex, I would still say you need to have, that's when you get into more doing like traditional negotiation, and I have lots of videos where I've talked about that before, but that is when you like really need to slow down, very directly talk about the BDSM things that you want to do and not, and your limits and everything else, and really plan a scene. Ideally, like, if you're going to do this, like, it's not about like it being a surprise or anything like that. Like, it's not about any of that. It's about like pre-negotiating. Hey, like, this is what we're gonna do together. This is, pick one or two things maybe for a scene. Have it be short. Have it be in public, and by public I mean at a dungeon, not at a fucking playground or somewhere. Like, have it be at an event. Have it be somewhere where you're gonna be seen, where people know where you are. All of that good stuff. Set yourself up for success and not for being a murder victim. And it's going to be typically a more narrow scene, a shorter scene, something that is very specific. Because if you try to add in a lot of like impressive elements, right? A lot of like wow elements, it's going to be really easy for you to fall into subspace and not be able to communicate, or be overwhelmed and have a really negative reaction, or enjoy some things but not others and have a really mixed experience. Like, the simpler time you have, the easier it's going to be to evaluate, did I like this thing and did I like this person? And when you have like 20 things going on, it's hard to suss out, okay, was this the activity or was this the person I was doing it with? You know? Hopefully that helps. And it was kind of like, it's a lot of things that go into like being ready for a scene and playing with someone for the first time, if it's sexual or non sexual, if you're dating or not. There's a lot that goes on. So definitely let me know if you have more questions, or if you can give me like more particulars about what you're looking for, then I can get more into that direction. That is a fan that you're hearing. I'm. Can you guys even hear that? Sorry, give me a second. You really shouldn't be hearing anything. Because when I'm not talking, like, it's like if it's picking up anything at all, it's picking it up at negative 65 decibels. So you guys really shouldn't be hearing anything in the background, but oh god, now I need to check. Sorry, give me a second. This is gonna bother me if I can't check. Let's see. Which one is that? Voice. Let's do monitor only. I don't hear anything. So I don't know if you guys are hearing something as white noise. I do not know what it is because I don't hear anything on my end. What? Okay, some people are saying they can't hear the fan at all. Other people are saying they can't hear. I'm so confused. What is happening? Okay. How do I do this? I would like to. Sorry, this is probably gonna be. I'm just gonna mute things for a second. Sorry, I just want to make sure I can check stuff. I totally can't hear any white noise. I'm super confused. Are you guys? I'm okay. So people who can hear it, are you wearing headphones or not? Because legit, I can't hear it at all. This is gonna really bother me, so I'm gonna like literally have to check it. Because you guys shouldn't hear anything at all. Sounds like static. What in the world? What is going on, y'all? Okay, sorry. I can hear it with headphones in, and that's it. I can't hear it when I don't have headphones in. Okay, but that's like, I literally have a going right next to me. I could turn up the noise cancellation a little bit farther in my, oh, and headphone. Over here. Okay, I've already plugged in my mic. Hopefully you guys can hear me. So I mentioned this at the beginning of the stream, but in case you guys missed it, I did say I have a giant fan plugged in right over there. So if all you guys can hear is a very faint hiss, my noise canceling software is doing its job. I can turn up the noise canceling sensitivity a little bit, but the problem is like if I turn it up too much, it starts clipping out my voice, and I'm pretty sure we don't want that. I do have it down like pretty low though, so sorry, give me a second. I don't know if this is gonna do anything. I'm echoing. How the fuck am I echoing? If I echoed, it only should have been for a second. What the fuck is happening? No, my mic should still be on. Sorry for all this technology stuff, but I haven't streamed in like 3 weeks, so we have to retest everything now, I guess, live. That's how. Yeah, we're plugging the headphones back in. It's literally exactly the same as it was before. I didn't change any settings. I didn't do anything. The other sound is gone. I don't know. I just plugged in my headphones. It sounds exactly the same as it did before. So I don't know. I don't genuinely do not know what's going on there. Yeah, I know I was echoing for a second. That's because I was monitoring my own voice, and that would require me echoing to be able to hear myself. I mean, maybe it was just unplugging it and replugging it back in. But the thing is, I just monitored it from my headphones, and it sounded exactly the same just now as it did before I had unplugged and replugged it back in. Like from my headphones, from my monitoring headphones, it sounded exactly the same. So I don't know. I don't know. And I didn't do anything in terms of like uh changing my noise removal strength or anything like that. So I don't know. Okay. Oh, what was he doing? Ah, YouTube. Where did YouTube go? I want my comments back. Well, if my computer is haunted, then how does it? I'm confused. I'm going to like listen back to this whole stream now because I legit cannot hear anything that's wrong with this. I cannot like I listened literally YouTube on max volume, my speakers on max volume, cannot hear a damn thing in the live stream that sounds like white noise. Cannot hear anything that sounds like white noise on the playback. Do you have advice for being less shy? I have two videos, I think, that are both about advice for being an introvert in the BDSM community. So if you have not seen those yet, I would recommend them because that is my advice. For my advice isn't necessarily to be less shy or thinking you need to fix your shyness because you are fine just the way you are, but it is about navigating social situations in a way that is more comfortable for you. That's the goal. All right, mascara time, baby. I used to use an eyelash curler, and then my eyelash curler literally ripped out half my eyelashes, and then never again. No more eyelash curlers for me. Thank you. I do need new mascara though, because this is very old and drying up. I do not give advice on long distance BDSM relationships, FYI. It's in the FAQ. I don't do long distance BDSM. It's not my thing. It doesn't work. Like long distance, and I'm sure if you ask, like other people in the chat would be happy to give you their advice, but long distance DS just like does not work with my brain. It's not something I do. It's not something I want to do. Uh, it's just not what I want. So I can't really give advice about how to do it personally. All right, mascara on. Okay, camera focus. Thank you, camera. Okay. Literally anything could be a fetish. You'd have to make a lot of videos. That is true, Ash. That is true. I don't know if I have a foot fetish, but I think I do. I love the idea of being stepped on, but I want to try. I think all that pressure in my chest. That's called trampling. It is sometimes related to foot fetishes, but it's also its own thing. I have taken classes on how to do that before, and I have done it before. So it is a thing. Totally. Actually, it's a fair. I wouldn't say it's like. It's probably a top 10 male submissive fantasy, but I don't know if it's top 5. But it's up there. It is something that a lot of people do. Mm. I can't have sex without my fetish, which is being forced to wear degrading stuff. I'm embarrassed to tell my wife and afraid she'll be mad that we struggled only because I wasn't honest about it. What do I do? Um, that's that's tricky because I think really no matter what you are in a scenario where the best path forward means being honest about the existence of your fetish. And you kind of have to accept the reality that there is going to be potential blowback that could happen because it took you so long to get to this point to talk about it, or because you have the fetish at all. Like there could be negative repercussions, but those are worth it in the face, I think, of not talking about it at all. So I think the way that you approach the conversation is important. Uh, and I don't know you or your marriage or your wife or anybody, so it's hard to give anything that's with all that in mind. So you'd have to use your own best judgment and kind of take what I'm saying with the necessary grains of salt. But I think you're at a point where you do need to be honest about your fetish. And honestly, I think a lot of people avoid doing this, but like you can literally go to a couples therapist or a sex therapist for 1 or 2 sessions just to talk about a very narrow issue. Or maybe you have to, go for a month, you go for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever, however long it takes for you to talk about your fetish and for you both to be comfortable with it and figure out what it means for your relationship. But the sooner that you can be honest about it, the better. And frankly, like, I wouldn't have it be some big preamble thing where it's, oh, I need to talk to you tonight about something really serious. Like, just, whenever you would normally find time to talk to your wife about something important, maybe it's before you go to bed. Maybe when I wouldn't do it when you're like getting ready in the morning because that can be like stressful. But in the evening when you're relaxing, or I don't know if you have kids or whatever, but when you're in a place where there's not a lot of the stress, you have privacy, you can be relaxed, and you have time for kind of an hour or two for a conversation. Like that's when I would bring it up, and I would say, you know. God, I don't know. How do you talk to a wife? I don't know. I don't know. But I would probably say something to the effect of, you know, um, there's something I've been wanting to talk to you about for a while. It's nothing bad or anything like that, but I've been thinking for a while that something I'm really into is insert the thing that you're into here. And I think that maybe one of the reasons why maybe we've been struggling in the bedroom, and I'd like to kind of talk to you more about that. Like, do you want to have a conversation about this? And you can have time to talk about sort of what the fetish means for you and all of that. They have time to ask questions. Like, you don't want it to be something where it's like this big dramatic pronouncement, but you do want to be honest, and you don't want to leave room for your partner to process that and ask questions. But having the assistance of a professional, if you don't want to have that conversation alone, it's totally acceptable. But the thing I think most important to keep in mind, not have it be too dramatic and like life altering, life ending, because the way that you frame the conversation is sort of what your partner is going to react to emotionally. And if you go into it kind of calm, even tempered, and okay, like your partner's gonna read that and kind of reflect that back. Whereas if you're like really anxious, it seems really important, like they're gonna be like, oh God, are we gonna get a divorce over this? Like, should I be really scared? And so the headspace that you go into things with is like the most important factor here after like being honest, of course. So I hope that helps. But that is what I would do. It's certainly not an easy scenario. You're not really in a situation where there can be an easy path forward, but there are many options you have for having the conversation that needs to happen. Hopefully that helps. Have you ever considered becoming a therapist? You seem very emotionally intelligent. I did for a while. That was like one of the things I originally wanted to do when I was in university is I wanted to be an ASL translator and a therapist and do like therapy working with the deaf population. But unfortunately, my school lost their accreditation for their ASL program, so that did not end up happening. So I took Spanish instead. And I took ASL and Spanish both in high school. So unfortunately, that did not end up happening. And I kind of also realized like I have trouble like emotionally separating from things. I don't know if I'd be really good at like maintaining like an emotional boundary with clients. I think I would get too involved. I'd have to really keep practiced at that. But I hope that I can be helpful for people in kind of a coach, advice, cool big sister kind of a way where frankly you don't have to worry as much about those professional boundaries and being really, really careful to not like share too much back with the client or with the patient. So yeah. You must know that because you posted an informational video on tickling, you must have a raging tickle fetish. Surprisingly not. Surprisingly, that's not me. I know. I seem like I would be into tickling, but I'm not. Like I'm not ticklish. Like I'm not. I can get. I'm very minor ticklishness in a few places, but like that was a thing where like I'd have friends that would tickle each other, and then they tickled me, and they'd just be like a fucking rock. I'd be like, "What's that?" Like, I'm like an anti-tickler. I'm like the brat of tickling, I guess. Is that a can that be a thing? Is that a thing? I guess it is now. Mm. Hair is looking so healthy lately. Shiny, pretty. Thank you. I have been deep conditioning. This is day 3 hair, so I apologize. It's kind of janky. It's kind of not the best, but I have really been loving the stuff I've been using with it. It's been doing great. I cannot remember any of the particular I just been like doing just any like I found if I use like a lot like I don't think I was using enough of like a deep conditioning mask and then when I started doing like a lot of deep conditioner I was like, "Oh, this is good." Also like brushing my hair more. I think that's also helped a lot because I keep it up a lot, especially when I'm working. I'm on my computer. I don't like having my hair everywhere, so I have my hair up a lot and definitely brushing it out. Like I don't put it in ponytails, but I will like clip it back. I clip it back like this a lot in like a low ponytail and basically a section clip, so nothing that keeps a lot of strain on it, but it does like to be brushed after this. After doing this for a long time. Oh, okay, here we go. How can you put punishments in a routine? Like how to get used to doing them new to DDLG. I don't know if I kind of covered this already with the previous answer that we gave for talking about punishments and DDLG and kink relationships, but basically how to get used to doing them is the key is always to like start really simple. People try to make things like really complicated because having things be really detailed and complicated is hot and fun, and I totally get that. Kink is people's kink for a reason. I don't know if there's a better phrase for that, but like there's a reason why people are into BDSM and things that are hot to you are probably one element of that. So instead of going all out, having 20 different rules, having 50 different punishments, having all these different protocol to keep up with, like you want to start out with like the most simple thing possible. And it'll be boring and it'll feel really limiting and you'll be like, "Why am I having to go through all these hoops before I can do the BDSM that I want?" And it's because you're trying to get used to it because when you start out slowly, that's going to give you and your partner the most time to figure out what works and what doesn't without the pressure of like we have to get rid of our whole DS relationship because what'll happen is if you I'm answering a bunch of other questions with this at once, but just to, it's all interconnected. So when you do have, like, if you try to start out like a DDLG relationship and you have 20 rules and 50 punishments and all this protocol and everything else, if you start from that place, if anything in there doesn't work, if there's like a rule that doesn't work, if there's punishments you don't like that's a lot of structure to have to try and rearrange. And it can feel like you're renegotiating your entire relationship because you've already done so much work to make that structure. But if you start from a place where you have one rule, one punishment, and you add from there, every individual new rule, every individual new punishment means that it is less at stake for when you add something new and you're like, that in particular is the thing that doesn't work for me, or that in particular over there isn't motivating for me as a punishment, or this rule doesn't really make me feel connected to you. Like, you have more opportunities when you add in things like that. So before you get overwhelmed, and also like from the dom side of things, if you do add in a lot up front, like, it's not just you as the submissive having to keep track of, oh, I have this rule for this thing and I have to do this checklist. I got these chores. That's overwhelming in its own way. But when you're also a Dom that has to remember to keep track of all of those things and monitor all of those things and come up with appropriate punishments for all of those things if rules are broken or forgotten, that's a lot to do as well. So when you're getting used to things, do one thing at a time, keep it really, really simple, keep it something that's easy to remember, keep it something that's, nothing super outlandish. Like, I think if you're doing something DDLG related, like the first step I would think of is, okay, what do I find motivating about DDLG that I can incorporate into a rule for a structure? That could be brushing my teeth every day and having it be like a sticker chart. That could be having to, drink out of a sippy cup. That could be having your partner pick out your outfits every day. Just whatever it is, just pick something simple, fun that you're going to enjoy doing, and then pick kind of a simple, low stakes punishment for that. Again, don't go too hardcore. Don't pull out all the big guns. You just want something that is going to be easy to remember and is not going to be emotionally devastating if something goes wrong. And then you can kind of build up from there. Hopefully that helps. Punishment, DS, it's all very complicated, and the best thing that you can keep in mind when you're doing this is to go into it with a spirit of, this is a flexible, ongoing process. I think we have this stereotype in the community, which I know why it's there. I understand. This is very traditional. People would go into DS relationships and they would have preset contracts that would be very, very detailed. They'd be like 20 pages long, and you would sign them and commit to them for 6 months, a year and a day. And that's like a long time. That's a long time to commit to one exact structure. And that does not have a level of flexibility to it. You do not improvise with that. Like, the rules are the rules are the rules in that scenario. And people like think that's how all DS is. And it doesn't have to be that way. I think when you're building something for the first time and when you're doing something that can be as fun and organic and playful as DDLG, having room for that to grow on its own and find what you like for you, as opposed to trying to jam something into a preset 20-page long structure that's going to give you a better relationship in the long term. So, hopefully that helps. Just keep in mind, it's flexible, it can grow. It's not the end of the world if something doesn't work, or if you like something and your partner doesn't. That's all part of the process. This is about finding what you want and what your partner wants and where those things overlap. Okay? Yeah. Okay, next question. Okay. I don't want to call it a problem, but I want punishments to be a regular thing. Oh, okay, this is okay. Different from what I thought originally, but also good question. I'm gonna turn off my fan. Give me a second. Hi, girl. You look like we just got up from a very nice nap. What are you doing? Hi. Okay. Sorry, I'm talking to my dog. Very important conversation. Okay, what was I just reading? Okay, here we go. I don't want to call it a problem, but I want punishments to be a regular thing, and my boyfriend doesn't seem to take it as seriously as I do. He knows about me being a little etc. I had to deal. Okay, different thing, different thing. Also important. So, this is something I see come up a lot with female submissives that lead their partners into DOG relationships. I don't know how to phrase this because I don't know you, I don't know your partner, but it is a trend that I see where there are a lot of boyfriends. Because you start in a vanilla relationship and then you make it kinky. There are a lot of boyfriends that are like okay with kind of kinky bedroom stuff and are like okay with that, but then when you add in more DS, more lifestyle things, they like kind of still think of it as a sex game, and it's like this isn't a sex game. This is not about you humoring me. This is about us building a DS relationship, and frankly, I do not have the patience myself personally to stay with someone that doesn't have the same motivations towards DS as I do, because DS is something that I want. It's something I don't need in every relationship, but I want it for like my main like primary BDSM relationship. I want that to include DS. And I don't want to be with someone that's just kind of going along with it and not taking it seriously because they think they have to make me happy. So I would like kind of have a serious conversation about like, hey, like I'm serious about doing this DDLG thing. This is important to me. I want this in our relationship. And I'm kind of confused about what direction you're approaching this from. Do you think this is like a fun bedroom thing? Do you want this as a lifestyle thing? Like, you have to have that conversation and make sure that you're both coming into this with the same motivation and the same goals and desires. Because if they're just doing to humor you, like it doesn't really, like they're not really going to ever be able to make that commitment to really have that structure, to really keep those rules in mind outside of whatever kind of suits their fancy. You know, like they're going to have trouble being able to maintain that simply because they are not independently motivated to do that. Now, it could just be kind of newbie dom, not really sure what direction to go in. Like there could be elements there that are just them not really being sure what to do. It's not because they're not into it, they just haven't kind of found their own footing yet. In that case, that's going to be their own process of finding what being dominant means to them, finding what motivates them, and learning how to take stuff seriously. But it is really frustrating because I know so many female submissives, and you know, submissives in general, to be honest, that are really, really motivated, that want DS, that want this structure, that are willing to show up. And there are a lot of D types that kind of just treat it as like a funny bedroom thing that they may keep up with agreements for, a couple weeks or remember the things that are individually hot for them. But when it comes to maintaining the structure and doing the work when it's hard, like they just don't want to show up for that. I don't have a good solution for that. It's just, I guess, acknowledging that that is a reality for a lot of people. It's not just you. A lot of people have similar experiences. And yeah, I know what you're going through. It sucks. It sucks to not have somebody that's on that same page, but it's not possible. It's going to take, I think, really confronting that head on and making sure that they know that you're serious about this and that you want them to be serious also. And like, if they can't do that for you, then you need to kind of reconsider what direction you're taking that relationship in. I'm having real trouble finding partners that don't expect sex to be involved with our relationship. How do you deal with that as a fellow ace? Um, I wish I had like a really good, like concrete, like this works 100% of the time, like kind of answer. I have sort of a combination of techniques that I used to kind of help with that. One, I think dating in the kind of sex positive community helps, like being poly, being BDSM, because people that are in those spaces are aware of ace identities. They are usually more comfortable with kind of seeing poly and BDSM relationships as being more diverse and not every relationship having to always be sexual. So that, helps weed out some things. I usually also, like, if I'm on a dating profile and I'm seeing somebody, or if I'm on FetLife and I'm seeing somebody, or I meet somebody, like I kind of try to read their energy and kind of figure out how sexual of a person they are, and if like there's somebody that's going to orgies every week, their gateway into BDSM was going to sexual swingers parties and having group sex with their partner and then kind of discovering BDSM incidentally after that, like we're probably not going to be really compatible as partners because the reasons for why we're motivated to do kink are just so different. It's not to say it's impossible, but like at most that could be some form of a play relationship, like kind of at the best. So, kind of evaluating what was their gateway into kink, what are their motivations, and all that's another good step. And then also, like it's hard because I find like if I'm with other ace people and with other demi people, like we're all just friends. Like we're all just like hang out and be friends with each other. It's like because you have that compatibility in terms of like being ace to like okay, well like but we're like good friends though. Like you don't even think about dating or seeing them as romantic partners because it's like well we're both asexual, so like we're just gonna hang out and be ace together and do ace things and talk about ace stuff, and having that be a possible kink relationship like as a long-term dating romantic kind of a thing isn't necessarily part of that. So like my most of my experience is with other like non-ace people, like allosexual people. And I usually am just like again, like I do not have time to mess around. I do not want to waste my time on people I'm not compatible with. So I try really hard to be upfront and be like, "Hey, this is what I want from BDSM. This is what I do. This is what I don't do." And I don't include sex in my scenes. Like if you want that, then bye. And I know the problem is like finding people that are going to it's not about like you being transparent with that. That's a hard part. It's having people like be okay with that, like genuinely okay. Cuz I know what it's like to talk to people and have them verbally say they're okay with that, and then 3 months later they're like, okay, what is the sex gonna happen? Or we do something and then there's a sexual energy to it that, genitals aren't involved, no one's naked, but that feeling is still there. It Navigating that is hard. I don't really know how to get around that honestly in a way that I found that works consistently, other than just like knowing that that's a possibility, negotiating scenes with new people with that in mind, not knowing what the energy is going to be like in the moment, and if something's not working, then just like not playing with that person again. I just have, you know, because I'm not like entirely sex repulsed or sex averse, I don't have as many issues, I think, as some other people do with finding partners because I am okay with my partners like getting sexual stuff out of things. But if you're somebody that's totally sex repulsed, that wants no sex of any kind anywhere, even the insinuation of it, like that's going to be a lot harder. And yeah, I don't have a perfect solution for that yet, but trying to pre weed out as many people as possible that are going to have that more sexual relationship with kink and then just not even getting into that conversation of doing BDSM with that person first is going to be the best, at least time saver, even if it's not necessarily helping you find people ahead of time. They're going to be, okay with that non sexual stuff. um, in BDSM, is mummification a BDSM fetish or is that a separate topic? I have some experience. I need advice. Yeah, so mummification, that again, that kind of goes in the same area as tickling, where it is a fetish, but it is also a BDSM activity. So it's kind of both. Yeah. Yeah, can we talk about not being creepy with fetishes? Why do so many people just not care about consent when it comes to their fetishes? I'm not trying to say that fetishes are bad. Yeah, we need to have a conversation with these people about consent and their behaviors, but they just like are not here for it. I didn't use any primer and my makeup looks fucking so good right now. Holy guacamole. Literally. I think I have a I get like a little oh you guys can like see my keyboard and stuff in my mirror. I get little like the bunny lines, whatever they're called right here, because I scrunch my nose a lot when I don't like things, which is a lot because I don't like things. And it looks so good. Maybe the secret is not using any primer. Maybe I've been making things worse by putting on primer. Who the fuck knows? Okay. I just noticed that in the mirror and I was like, whoa. Mind blown. Uh oh gosh. Oh, I kind of remember this, but I'm not sure. In an old video about CGL not being safe for work, you mentioned something called Kinderheart. After Googling it, I found nothing. What is Kinderheart? I have no idea if this is still a thing or not, but I think when I made that video, that was the Tumblr community. Like was that a raver thing? I think that was like a raver aesthetic where they wore kind of like kids' clothes and tutus and stuff. That is my vague recollection of back when like Tumblr was still a thing, but I wouldn't be surprised, due to the death of Tumblr if you couldn't find anything about that again. Mm. Uh yeah, I'm kind of killing two birds with one stone on the makeup and BDSM stuff thing, but we love it. That's what we're here for. How can you get your partner to be more serious in a BDSM relationship, like not just in your bedroom, but on the day? I don't know if anybody else has answered this question or not. Oh no, what happened to my chat? Oh no, I went too far. I cannot see them anymore. YouTube has this thing where if there's too many chat questions I haven't, or just chat messages in general, if I don't get to them fast enough, it'll just be like, okay, you run out of room. Bye, deleting old YouTube chat messages. Good luck. I think I answered this, but just to be clear, like, you can't make anybody be something they're not. Like, if you are a bedroom only BDSM person and someone else is a lifestyle or BDSM person, like, you can't make a lifestyle person be happy with bedroom only, and you can't make somebody that's bedroom only be happy or wanting to do lifestyle. There are some people that have weaker preferences that are kind of okay with either and just like want to do BDSM. But most people generally kind of like, if they're bedroom only BDSM, they usually have a lot of ideas about like lifestyle BDSM where they're not comfortable doing it 24/7. They don't want to do it 24/7. They only want to do it sexually because if it's not sexual, then it's like creepy and weird for them. And for lifestyle people, doing it sexually either ruins the experience or it's not a complete experience to do it bedroom only. So you can't necessarily make somebody be something they're not. But I think what I said earlier in terms of like having that direct conversation, like that is how you are going to know where your partner is at in terms of how serious they are. Because, it can be something that has a lot of vulnerability to it when you are kind of approaching BDSM more seriously when the relationship used to be vanilla. And so maybe they could be reluctant about being more serious because they don't want to scare you off or because they haven't really come to terms with it yet. They are not comfortable with it yet. There could be a lot of factors that go into it that are things other than they just don't want to do it. But you have to be able to be direct and say, like, hey, like, I want to do this as a lifestyle thing. Like, where are you at with that? And you don't have to be that aggressive with it. Like, I think if you want the most honest answer from them, I would approach it without you putting in what you want first and just asking them, hey, I really enjoyed getting to experiment with you with like this DDLG stuff. How are you feeling about this? Do you want to take this farther into our relationship? Or something like that, where you're not kind of putting in your own opinion first. So that way they feel more able to say whatever it is that is honest for them. They may try to predict what you want. They may try to think, okay, well, I think they want more. So I'm going to say that I want more than I really do because I want to make them happy. Can't be doing that in BDSM. That's not how anyone has happy, healthy relationships. But you can at least try to get them more in that direction and try to help them like say an honest answer. But again, you can't make somebody be something they are not. And if this happens so much. This happens so much where you have people that have vanilla relationships where then they introduce DDLG, BDSM, spanking, fetishes, whatever they are. And one partner is kind of going along with it because they want the vanilla part of their relationship. They want the vanilla sex. They want the intimacy. They want the romance. And they are willing to put up with other things to get the thing that they really want. And when the thing you want is lifestyle DS, that's not really something you can compromise on for a whole relationship, especially if you're monogamous and this is the person you are with. So it's better to know what you want and know what they want and see where you can meet in the middle, if you can meet in the middle, or if neither one of you are really going to be served by the relationship in the way that it is now. So yeah, it's really tough, but like, it's very, very common that if you're a female submissive, you may want more lifestyle from the relationship and the partner is really only wanting to do bedroom sex stuff. And it sucks. That's what I have observed. It is very common, but I don't really have any secret tips for making somebody take BDSM seriously if they are not treating it as a serious thing already. Hmm. Oh, okay. This is a tricky one, but I think an important question. I want to punish and humiliate for the first time my kitten because she lied to me. Can you give me some advice? So, different people have different opinions about this. Personally, for me, oh, um, where'd it go? Oh, here we are. So, personally, for me, I do not think that a vanilla relationship problem like lying is something that should be solved only in a BDSM context. Because the problem isn't really like they broke a DS rule, they didn't fulfill a task that they were meant to do. Like they lied. Like that's a I don't know what the lie was about, but like that's a like relationship person vanilla problem. And so I think it's better to address that primarily and first through a vanilla conversation about like hey like and oh god I hate that I'm referencing 50 shades of gray, but like there is a point in one of the books, I think it was was it Freed, I don't remember, in one of the books she talks about like hey you can't like use the red room to even the score because she does something that he doesn't like I think she lies about going out to like see her friend for a drink or something. I think that's what he's mad about. And like that's a scenario where like she lied and he tries to get revenge on her by doing BDSM with her, which for them is supposed to be, in the way that E.L. James frames it, not necessarily in the actual text of it, but the way that E.L. James is attempting to describe it is like their BDSM is supposed to be like a loving like sex thing and not like a mean punishment evening the score thing. And so I thought that with that kind of, as a very bizarre thing that I'm using as an example, I can't believe I've referenced that, but that is like something that's very clear, that's known in media, that I think is a more universally understood reference. So I don't think that you should address things like that trying to use BDSM, because that's like kind of a confusing message. Using BDSM to get to an issue that really happened as a vanilla part of the relationship. So talk about it first in a vanilla context with your partner, as your partner, egalitarian, all of that good stuff. And if you want to, as an end note for it, to kind of re emphasize that part of the relationship, then you can do like a punishment atonement kind of a thing. But I wouldn't have that be the only thing or the first thing that you do. And I especially wouldn't do that as the first time you ever do a punishment. I just don't think that's a recipe to that for that to be successful. Like honestly, I don't think that's gonna like end up being successful. I don't think, you know, I guess it could be for some people, but I wouldn't count on it. I suppose, and it's very risky to approach doing things that way. So yeah, be careful. Yeah, and I think also like there's a lot of missing information here, which is like, what did they lie about? Was this the first time that she lied? Was it lying about something BDSM related or not? What was the context of the lie? Was it because she didn't like? There's sort of this like, okay, like a lie is being dishonest, but there could be like context there, right? Like, did they feel scared to tell you the truth? Did they feel like if they told you the truth, they were gonna get punished for some reason? Like what? Like it could like the lie could also indicate like a problem with a structure in your relationship that would also need to be addressed. But again, that's like a lot of potential different factors going on there. Welcome, Teddy Tiger. Glad to have you around. Okay, this is when we're getting into like the trying to play with the sound and stuff and fix my audio. Okay. Mm, ooh, okay. This is a tricky one, Lilith. This is a tricky one. And 10-minute warning, by the way. So you have not asked a question yet. This is your final notice to ask a question. Where I live, there are no dungeons or anything, so trying to set up scenes is often involves being invited to someone's house as a trans woman. That's kind of terrifying. Do you have any advice? I do always say that like playing in public is your best option, but if you can't do that, if there's not a dungeon where you live, I think if you can go to a house party where there is going to be multiple people, that is going to be safer. Just something that's going to involve witnesses. If you can bring a spotter or a friend with you, that is also a good option. At the very minimum, if you can't do that, if you can't find a house party, if you can't bring a spotter, let somebody know where the heck you are. Like if you have a phone, if you have Google Maps, share your phone location with somebody, schedule time for a check-in call. All right, fucking car beeping at me on the street. I didn't ask for that shit. But yeah, I've talked about this in like kind of basic safety videos a couple times before, but I still do stand by what I've said in those, which is, let somebody know where you are at, make sure your phone is fully charged, schedule time for a safe call, and if you do not check in with that person, have a plan in place so that way they know what to do. Like, hey, if you call me and I don't answer and it's been like 10 minutes, do this, or if I don't call you back, do this. Call this person. Make sure you can share the address of where you're going with somebody ahead of time. Don't go anywhere else than that one place, and let them know that if they see you going somewhere else, to call and check in, and then have contingencies in place. Take your own transportation whenever possible. If you don't have your own transportation, take public transportation. Just do not put yourself in a scenario where you are entirely in that other person's court and you are dependent on them for getting home safe. Basically, don't put yourself in that scenario. Or have a friend drop you off and pick you up, so that way you always know somebody's going to have like visual confirmation of the person that you're seeing. So if you have somebody drop you off, like make sure they see the person that you're playing with and they can see the building that you're going to and all of that stuff, you can literally have them fucking wait across the street in their car. Just because they can't go in the building doesn't mean they can't be near you or be around you. There are also apps that you can use on your phone that are basically like, I can't think of the name of one in particular, but there's a lot of things like this, which is like basically phone safety things where, if you dial a certain combination on your phone or if you press a single button on like the home screen of your phone, that will alert people in whatever network you have set up. So that way people can be alerted if something goes wrong and to like check in with you and try to find where you are. So yeah, I know all that is not really fun advice, but it is necessary. All that does carry some risk with it, and just try to be safe. And that's also, of course, in addition to all the sorts of vanilla, safety techniques in terms of, don't go home with somebody that's like a complete stranger. Don't do things with people when you're going to be under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Um, having something like mace or pepper spray on hand is good. Having self defense training is good. Oh, thank you so much, Michael. Another stellar and informative evening. Thanks to our fearless leader and the cohort of mavens. Thank you. Thank you. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. Yes. But yeah, that's kind of my general advice. But yeah, I know it's definitely scary. It's been a very long time since I've gone over. It's probably been like 3 or 4 years since I've gone over to somebody's house to play. But I drove myself. Somebody knew where I was. It was somebody that my friends knew as well, so they weren't a total stranger to me. And we had also met, I think, twice in person before I went over to their house. And definitely meeting them more, meeting in public places, even if you can't play in public, just to kind of check their vibe, before you commit to anything. That's also a really good thing to do too. Hmm. Are there any ways to optimize a FetLife profile to attract less creeps and more serious BDSMers? I live in a rural area, so the nearest dungeon is like 3+ hours away. Hope you get to my question. Yeah. I I've always wondered if this is like me, if I'm just like a jaded person, if I just have been on FetLife for too long, or if the website's actually changing. I don't know. Um, I think I don't treat FetLife as a dating website. I don't treat it as a way to like meet people for dating. I think in terms of optimizing FetLife, like the way that I use it and most people use it is I log in, I check for messages from friends, I look for events, I comment on something, and then I log off. Like I really don't engage very actively on FetLife, but I do use it to keep track of events and close friends and people I know, and that's like really all that it is. And there's, you can do things like you can, set your age to 99. You can not put down your gender. You cannot put down your role, right? So there's a difference between saying you're an 18-year-old female from, Ann Arbor, Michigan, and saying you're 99-year-old, no gender, no title, from Antarctica. And when you have less specifiers like that, you're less likely to get kind of creepy spam messages. But if you have any publicly viewable photos, if you are in any local groups, like there are going to be people that literally just check every account in the entire state where they live to try and find somebody to kind of send sexual spam messages to, honestly. So there's not really a way to avoid it 100%, but making your account more anonymized in terms of, if you're like a female submissive, make it look like you're not a female submissive on your profile, which makes it harder when you are trying to find people to play with, but it is going to get rid of a lot of the kind of most creepy messages. And then the way that you would find like serious quote unquote BDSM people would be like joining local groups and like reading profiles from, reading profiles in detail, seeing if they have a lot of photos. Like it's going to be more kind of checking out people to see if they seem serious first than just, I guess, waiting for those people to message you. But yeah, it's hard to find people on FetLife. And then The people that are the most determined to do it generally have the least good intentions, I guess, least wholesome intentions. Okay, I think I have time for one more question, maybe one or two. I don't know. I don't want to promise I can only do one or only do two, but I'll see what I can get to here in the next couple of minutes. Where is the question? Yeah, I know. We just want a really fun side quest. Thank you so much, Autumn. That's a great way of framing it. That is what the Mike adventure was. It was a fun side quest. That's great. Mm, what is the best makeup to use when doing BDSM scenes? Usually when I go to dungeons, I have two things that I wear. I either wear no makeup at all, because I don't want to get makeup all over the furniture and on myself and on my partner. Or if I'm like DMing, if I'm volunteering and I'm not really going to be playing, then I do like full goth glam. All black eyeliner, all black everything, big old eyelashes, all that good stuff. But when it comes to like doing something for a scene, if you want like a visual effect, like I would go with probably if you're going to be wearing foundation, get that shit locked down, setting powder, waterproof makeup, heavy setting spray. Like get something that's really not going to rub off too much if you're going to be like face down on furniture or mats or anything like that. Lots of mascara, really good visual effect if you do start tearing up or crying, things like that. If you're wearing ball gags or gags, a good red lip can be a really classic look, but it depends on your own individual style, right? If you're like a DDLG person that's gonna cover their face in marker and stickers, like that's gonna be a very different look from like a female dom that wants to like radiate that like powerful, confident dom energy. So I think the best makeup look is the one that helps you feel confident with yourself in the dungeon. I hadn't given a cheesy enough answer yet tonight, so I had to get that one out there. Okay, okay, one more question. That was a good one though. That's a good one. Uh, ba, 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 ba. Mm, how do you feel about open poly relationships? I am poly, so I hope that I am okay with poly. Otherwise, my life would be very confusing. Um, mm, Okay, so Teddy Tarker asked a great question. I am not somebody who has sensory issues, so I can't answer this, but I will toss it out there for future discussion and other people maybe contributing their thoughts. But they said, does anyone have sensory issues, have tips about long term wearing a collar? Cold metal and a restrictive feeling could make me antsy after a bit. Personally, I really like collars like this one. So this is a vegan faux leather. There is some metal on it, but it warms up to the skin. It doesn't have the same feeling or weight to it as a metal collar would. And I have this I got this like fairly tight. There's kind of two fingers here worth of space. You can get something like this that is very loose that just has a lock on it. And if you get like a round lock, something that doesn't have a point on it that maybe could dig into your skin a little bit, that may be easier for sensory issues, depending on like what the sensory issues are that you're kind of wanting to help with. Yeah, and silicone also works really well. What's is it neoprene? There's something else that's not silicone. What? It starts with an N, I think. I can't remember what it is. Cannot remember what it is. Because it's not this. This is a different material. Okay. Well, I think that's going to be it for now, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'm so glad that we got to hang out once again here on YouTube for another fabulous, amazing, hopefully fun and informative and educational makeup live stream. And yeah, I think it's going to be it for tonight, guys. God, July has just been a crazy month and it's not over yet. I'm going to be gone on Monday and Tuesday again, which is super fun. But August. August is literally going to be me at home reading my book outside, enjoying the last of the summer, and not traveling to 50 different places in a month. That's all I want. Life went too hardcore in July. It needs to slow the fuck down. Summer needs to not be coming to an end. I need 2 more months of summer, please. That's all I want. That's all I want from life. Oh, neoprene, or rubber. Yeah, well, I think I said neoprene. Is that? Anyways, sorry. I don't remember what it is right now. It probably is neoprene from what I'm remembering. But yeah, that's gonna be it for tonight, guys. Stay safe out there. Have fun, and I will talk to you all again very soon. Bye.